Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Cooler air filtering in behind yesterday's system. Temperatures are in the 40s as you step out the door. It will also be a windy afternoon. I'll show you what it'll feel like.
One person is in the hospital after being shot at by two Holly Springs police officers. Coming up, I'll tell you what exactly led to that shooting.
And an 18-year-old is dead after being hit by two cars along I-540. What we know about the moments leading up to that terrible accident. Straight up 8 o'clock is the time right now on your Thursday morning. I'm Jeff Hogan. Thanks for making us part of your day.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. A lot more calm today weather-wise, I think, than yesterday. I mean, it came down in waves. One second it was sunny, the next it was raining. So it's going to be a little better today, I think. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner with a beautiful look over Fayetteville. Blue skies, no rain in sight.
Yeah, lots of sunshine here in Fayetteville right now. We've had some cloud cover around the Triangle area and northward, and that's the way things are going to be today. We're going to see a low-pressure system just bringing a little cloud cover in, some cooler temperatures and some breezy conditions too. Our wind is southwest right now at 7 miles per hour, but that wind will shift around to northwesterly, helping to continue to draw in some cooler temperatures. 48 right now in the Triangle. We're looking at the wind starting to pick up in Fayetteville. Not any gusts showing up. The gusts will show up in that white box on the right, but our winds are steady now at 15 in Fayetteville, about 7 in Durham and Raleigh, as well as Southern Pines, and 8 in Clinton. But here's a look at the wind gusts through the afternoon. By lunchtime, we're gusting 25 to 30 miles per hour, and that will continue on through the afternoon. Our temperature right now in Fayetteville is 50. It's 46 in Rocky Mount, but still 41 up in Roxborough. We have the potential for some cloud cover, especially in our northern counties. Right now, we're seeing some of that. You can see sort of rotating around some of those clouds, pushing in, especially closer to lunchtime, and a sprinkle along with that too, from Rocky Mount to South Hill over toward Roanoke Rapids. It's going to be just that, a quick sprinkle, nothing that'll measure in the rain gauges, and most of us won't see any rain today. Hour by hour, we only climb into the low 60s this afternoon. That's much different than what we've seen the last few days, with 70s yesterday and then a string of 80s for the weekend and early in the week. We don't get back into warmer than normal temperatures until sometime next week. I'll show you how that will feel for the Dreamville Festival this weekend. Coming up, Brian.
8:02 right now, all new, getting reports of a crash with injuries in southwest Raleigh at Tryon Road at Yates Mill Pond Road. Seeing some very heavy delays showing up through there. We'll get an update on those sensor readings coming up in about 10 minutes. Also still watching this crash in downtown Raleigh, a crash with injuries at Edenton Street at State Street. So if you're coming in from East Raleigh on Newbert Avenue, be prepared to run into a little bit of police activity, perhaps also an EMS response as they work to get that cleared. We had an earlier crash on Lake Wheeler Road just north of Hilltop Needmore Road on the north side of Fuquay Arena. It looks like that is largely cleared and traffic is sort of returning to its normal pattern out there at that intersection. Still, you could see some lingering delays as they work to get that one cleared up, as is the case with this one up on the north side of Raleigh at Falls of Neuse Road at Litchford Road. An earlier crash with injuries. Still seeing some pretty heavy southbound delays as you approach Durant Road, really all the way down toward that 540 interchange. Around the rest of the Triangle, looking good as you head through Knightdale on 87 southbound. No big delays there. Then you hit some of the usual backups on 440 westbound heading out toward Capitol Boulevard. In Durham right now, we're looking good on I-85 and I-40, but we are seeing some congestion on the northbound side of 885. As you look at that live camera at TW Alexander Drive, about a 4-minute delay overall from I-40 up to I-85.
All right, thank you, Brian. Following some breaking news this morning, crime scene tape is up right now outside the Target in Holly Springs. Police say officers shot a person. Nick Perlin is there on the WRAL breaking news tracker. He's been there for quite a while. Nick, police initially responded to a suspicious person call. What do we know right now?
Well, Michelle, we do know that one person was shot and is in the hospital, and we learned from the police chief at around 5:30 a.m. that person was shot by Holly Springs police officers. I do want to show you this video from the WRAL breaking news tracker. This gives you a better idea of what this scene looked like when we first arrived here at around 4:30. Holly Springs police tell us that this shooting happened just before 4 a.m. They say that employees inside the Target behind me saw somebody acting suspiciously. They called Holly Springs police, and when they showed up, Holly Springs police officers say that person showed them a gun. That's when those two officers then started to shoot at that person. That person, like I said, was shot and was taken to the hospital. No officers were injured, and at this time, it's unknown if that person ever shot at those officers. Now, I do want to tell you, this target, it's been an active scene behind me for hours. It's still taped off. We're still seeing investigators trying to learn more information. We do know that store opened at around 8, and we see the doors open there and shoppers walking in, so it does appear that this scene is not delaying the open time here at Target. So if you're in the area and still need to shop, this is still open. But of course, we're still trying to learn more information about what led up to that shooting. Of course, once we have more information, we'll be sure to update you. Live in Holly Springs, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
We have more breaking news we've been following overnight. An 18-year-old is dead after being hit by two vehicles along I-540 East. The WRAL breaking news tracker was on the scene near Leesville Road just before midnight. Highway Patrol tells us a car crashed into the tree line right along the I-540 ramp. And at some point after that, the 18-year-old walked out into the middle of the highway. He was hit by a black pickup truck and then by a tractor trailer. It's not known if his car was damaged in that original accident on the ramp.
The people have more cleanup to do this morning after a round of storms that took down trees in some neighborhoods. WRAL's Monica Casey is in Raleigh for us this morning. Monica, a tree where it's right behind you that actually landed on somebody's car. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, Michelle, there is a lot of cleanup to do here this morning. I mean, this tree is enormous and it's completely crushed the front of this car here. It's going to be costly for this car owner in this Northwest Raleigh neighborhood. We spoke with that man, Christopher Fumifredo, who tells us before heading into work each day, he likes to decompress in his car. He's lucky he didn't because this happened just as the rain was dying down last night.
I like to sit in here for a little bit, but right before I chose to just sit in my girl's car and take that out, the tree fell as I was pulling out, the maintenance people were saying, and I barely escaped with my life.
Power was also out for a few places last night for a couple of hours, including White Oak in Garner. Now, the Duke Energy outage map does not show any lingering power outages from last night's storm, and there are no reports of any injuries associated with that storm either. In Raleigh, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
NC State women's basketball is just one day away from taking the Final Four stage against top-seeded South Carolina. WRAL's Brett Neese is in Cleveland with the team where they say they are ready for this big challenge.
Good morning, everyone, from outside the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here in Cleveland as the Wolfpack women get ready to rock and roll into the Final Four. Last night, the NCAA held a welcome banquet here at the iconic venue. Earlier in the day, the NC State marching band and cheer teams got a chance to explore the six-story museum. But now today, the focus will shift towards the big matchup with South Carolina on Friday night. Both teams will hold practices, and I'll be talking to some of the Wolfpack players after that, along with head coach Wes Moore. This is a historic Final Four on so many levels. And one of the biggest storylines is the spotlight that is starting to shine so bright on women's basketball. I got a chance to ask Sanaya Rivers about that and what it means to her.
It's amazing. You know, this is something we created. I'm glad that I can say that one day I was one person that paved the way for women's basketball. It's amazing. It's an amazing time in women's history right now.
I'll have more from Rivers and some of the other players, along with head coach Moore, coming up later tonight. In Cleveland, Brett Neese, WRAL News.
And the big day for the NC State Wolfpack men and their fans is almost here. The team is now in Glendale, Arizona, where they'll play in the Final Four against Purdue on Saturday night. The team arrived at their hotel last night. They signed autographs and took selfies with fans who were there cheering them on. Coach Kevin Keats said the team has grown a lot as they've made their run through the ACC tournament and now the NCAA tournament.
When we set out to go to D.C., we wanted to have fun. Same thing in Dallas and so far. And, you know, our guys now are learning how to separate, you know, having fun. And then when we need to get down to business, we'll get down to business.
The WRAL's Pat Welter and Casey Hins are in Arizona with the team. They'll be talking with players later today about how they're preparing for their showdown with the 1-seed Purdue.
And we are asking for your help to turn the Garden red right here. Come to the WRAL Azalea Gardens, noon to 6:30. At any point, wear your red to support NC State men's and women's historic Final Four basketball journeys. The Gardens are in full bloom, and there could even be some special surprises in store for some folks out there who show their Wolfpack pride. So stop by this Friday with your Pack family and help us turn the Gardens red.
And Vice President Kamala Harris will travel to Charlotte today, promoting the administration's historic investment in climate action. Harris will be joined by EPA Administrator Michael Regan, as well as Governor Roy Cooper. The vice president will also speak at a campaign reception while in Charlotte before returning to Washington, D.C.
Dreamville Festival Week continues today before the music festival takes over Dix Park this weekend. Fans can stop by a limited Dreamville pop-up shop in downtown Raleigh, offering exclusive new merch as well as Dreamville staples. It is open from noon until 7 p.m. on Southwest Street. There'll also be an adult game night tonight at Kings and Neptunes on West Martin Street. It is all free to attend.
Coming up, a breakfast staple could soon see a drastic price increase. How concerns over bird flu are impacting the price of eggs.
And as NASA works to get people back on the moon, they're also figuring out how to set the clocks. Why the space agency is trying to figure out a time zone for the lunar surface.
And last night's system is out of here, but the cooler air is filtering in. We'll see highs in the 60s all the way into the weekend and some lows in the 30s. I'll talk about when we may see a little chance of rain later today, too. 8:14, taking a live look at Warrenton with a lot of cloud cover. We're seeing more clouds in the north and more sunshine in the south this morning. We have a disturbance that's rotating up around the Great Lakes, sending a little bit of cloud cover into parts of the region this morning. Let's take a look at that. This low that's over New York and New England, and this cold front that you could see well out into the Atlantic is what we experienced yesterday. That cold front came through and brought us some severe storms. And then, of course, the second low pressure system here over the Great Lakes continues to rotate counterclockwise. It's dragging down some moisture across the area. A little bit of snow in the mountains this morning, which is fun, except for the fact that the ski resorts are already closed. A little bit of a sprinkle possible this afternoon north of the Triangle area, and definitely the farther north you are, the more cloud cover you may see because of this low pressure system rotating to our north. There's lunchtime, some cloud cover, and then a sprinkle or two around 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just going to be a quick sprinkle. Most of us won't see it, but if you are, say, between Roxborough and maybe Roanoke Rapids, you could see just a quick little sprinkle roll through. After that, we are nice and dry all the way through the weekend. Lots of sunshine on Saturday and Sunday for the Dreamville Festival, but the temperatures do remain cool. 62 on Saturday, 66 on Sunday. You know, in the direct sunshine without a lot of wind, that should still feel pretty comfortable. It does look like Monday we could see another system developing that brings clouds to parts of the country that don't want to see the clouds. Of course, the eclipse is Monday, April the 8th, and along the path of totality from Texas all the way up into New England, there's a system that's going to be rolling through our next front, and there could be clouds. It could be enough clouds that it really diminishes what you can see in terms of the eclipse. Here's a look at the path of the eclipse and a look at the cloud cover that may go along with it as we get through around 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday. Ohio is one of the areas that's going to be popular for folks to maybe drive to from here. It's going to be the closest where you can get up to the totality. If you take a look at New York, also due north of us, it looks like maybe a mix of sun and clouds, maybe some high thin cloud cover. But today is Thursday, and that's Monday, and we'll get a lot more runs of the computer models in between now and then, and hopefully folks will have a decent chance to see it. We'll actually see 78% coverage around our area. That means that we'll see the sun looking like it has a bite taken out of the edge of it, and that starts at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon with maximum coverage at about 3:15. We don't see total coverage, but some partial coverage, which still should look pretty cool. Again, for the Dreamville Festival, temperatures will be in the 60s, but once we get into next week, we warm back into the 70s for highs. Brian?
8:17 right now, Elizabeth. Let's take a look at traffic. We are getting reports of a pretty serious crash out on Tryon Road at Yates Mill Pond Road. Seeing some backups as you head through that intersection. Apparently, a lot of emergency crews are on the way to that scene. We're working to get some more details about it there on the southwest side of Raleigh, heading out toward Cary. That ride on westbound Tryon Road could get a little tricky. Minor crash reported on the north side of Raleigh in the past few minutes on Millbrook Road near Six Forks Road, but sensors are tracking some delays building through that intersection. Still have this crash on the east side of downtown Raleigh on Edenton Street at State Street. Not seeing big delays with that one. And it looks like those earlier backups have cleared up nicely on Falls of Neuse Road as you're heading down toward 540 from Durant Road. An earlier hit and run out in Rollsville, not causing any big problems as far as we can tell on the sensors. Elsewhere around the triangle, we're looking pretty typical for this point in the morning commute with backups on 440 westbound between 87 and Capitol Boulevard. The usual delays on 40 westbound approaching Gorman Street on the south side of Raleigh. And we're still watching those backups on 885 northbound. There's that live look at Alexander Drive where all that traffic is slowing down there heading out toward Ellis Road. About a 4-minute delay overall.
And happening now in the WRAL Live Center, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Brussels today. This is brand new video of the Secretary with the Finnish Foreign Minister as well, taking part in this signing ceremony of a memorandum of understanding that allows both countries to work more closely together to combat misinformation. Secretary Blinken will also be participating in the NATO-Ukraine Council meeting while in Brussels. Today also marks day 2 of a summit marking NATO's 75th anniversary. And as they prepare for the Washington, D.C. summit in July, this will also be the first meeting of NATO ministers since Sweden became a full member of NATO.
More than 100 people remain trapped in Taiwan after the country's most powerful earthquake in 25 years. And officials said in a morning update the death toll stands at 10. More than 1,000 people are hurt and more than 100 buildings will need to be demolished because of the extensive damage there. Not only are people trapped in those buildings, many are stuck in highway tunnels that have been blocked off by fallen rocks.
How about this new video into our newsroom showing the moment nurses in Taipei started to protect babies during that earthquake. You see the 2 nurses trying to hold those baby beds together. Another nurse rushes in to help. There were about 15 babies in that nursery at the time, and a nurse supervisor says all the mothers rushed to the nursery to check on the babies and saw the nurses protecting them. All the babies are safe. None of them got hurt.
Thank goodness. That's so scary. Well, new this morning, aid organization World Central Kitchen is calling for an independent third-party investigation of Israeli strikes that killed 7 of its employees working in Gaza. The aid workers killed in the April 1st attack were from Australia, Canada, the U.S., Poland, the U.K., and Gaza. The Israel Defense Forces called the airstrike that killed them a mistake. World Central Kitchen founder Jose Andres has accused Israel of systematically targeting the aid workers. Well, here at home, egg prices rising again, and it's happening during another bird flu outbreak. Back in February, the average price for a dozen eggs was about $3, up from $2 in the fall. But egg prices are now at their highest level since April of last year.
Yeah, poultry farmers and egg producers out there trying to get a grip on the latest outbreaks of bird flu. Medical experts are increasing calls to monitor the spread of that virus. Ted Lindner explains what could make things worse.
Outbreaks of bird flu are once again impacting the country's poultry industry. Cal-Maine Foods, the nation's largest producer of fresh eggs, temporarily stopping production at a plant in Texas this week after documenting cases of bird flu in its chickens. It's resulted in the company killing more than 1.6 million birds to prevent the virus from spreading. Cal-Maine Foods says there's no risk linked to its eggs currently for sale. But while conscious shoppers wait to see how this development may impact the cost of eggs in the coming days, medical experts are citing growing health concerns, with bird flu recently documented in dairy cows across Idaho, Kansas, Michigan, New Mexico, and Texas.
We are definitely taking this seriously.
That's because earlier this week, Texas authorities reported a person tested positive for bird flu after being exposed to an infected cow. While it's rare for people to contract bird flu, this instance is the first known time a human has caught the virus from a mammal.
In the United States, we've never had a documented case of human-to-human spread of avian flu. This is a new development. Cows, mammals, being a reservoir gives this virus new opportunity to change.
Bird flu is highly contagious for chickens, turkeys, and several species of wild birds, but it currently poses low risks for people. Still, the CDC is closely monitoring for signs the virus could be mutating.
That was Ted Lindner reporting. Working outside a normal 9-to-5 schedule could affect your health later in life. That's according to a new study. Researchers found working outside of those hours can lead to poor sleep, fatigue, and depression down the line. The study showed people who took on an unpredictable schedule in their 20s to 40s had the poorest health by 50. So people who often switched from working days to working nights often had poor health later in life.
NASA is trying to decide what time it is on the moon. According to a memo, the White House has asked NASA to give the moon its own time zone. It has until the end of 2026 to figure out in coordination with the Departments of Commerce, Defense, State, and Transportation. The memo said the Coordinated Lunar Time, or LTC, would be important as the pace of activity at the moon increases.
Damage from yesterday's storm still taking a toll on some North Raleigh neighborhoods. WRAL's Monica Casey has the latest on cleanup efforts just ahead.
Get into your car, tuned to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Thursday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. Well, most of the rain is out of here. We're seeing cloudy skies out there. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner with what we can expect for today.
We have another low that's up around the Great Lakes, kind of rotating some cloud cover and a little bit of moisture in. It's a bit hard to pick out here on the radar, but right along the I-85 corridor, there's just a little bit showing up on the radar. Most likely that's evaporating before it reaches the ground. But we're definitely seeing some cloud cover from the Triangle area northward. Lots of sunshine in our southern counties right now. If we see any rain today, it's going to be a quick sprinkle, not enough to really measure in the rain gauges. Currently, our temperatures are in the mid 40s to right around 50 degrees, and our high this afternoon will be in the low 60s under variably cloudy skies. Brian?
8:27 right now, Elizabeth. We have a pretty serious crash on the southwest side of Raleigh on Tryon Road, right around Yates Mill Pond Road. So if you're heading away from Raleigh back toward Cary, toward that Walnut Street intersection, probably going to run into some delays. Seeing some very heavy backups right now on the northbound side of Yates Mill Pond Road, heading up toward Tryon Road. Look out for a minor crash at the intersection of Six Forks at Millbrook Road on the north side of Raleigh. It's a minor crash, but we are seeing some pretty big delays showing up through that intersection. Major routes looking okay around Raleigh, just a little bit of a backup on 885 northbound around Alexander Drive heading into Durham.
Thanks, Brian. An 18-year-old man is dead after being hit by multiple cars along I-540 near East Leesville Road. Highway Patrol tells us one car crashed into the tree line along the I-40 ramp just before midnight. At some point after that crash, the 18-year-old who walked into the middle of the highway was hit by two cars. Next on Fox 50, we are continuing to follow breaking news as police in Holly Springs say somebody was shot outside of a Target. And next on Today, how to manage the stress of college admissions.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
The cold front swept through yesterday and is leaving behind some cooler temperatures. I'll show you how it will feel through the end of the week.
Two Holly Springs police officers are on administrative leave after shooting a person at this Target behind me. Coming up, I'll tell you what led up to that shooting.
We're following storm damage from last night. Take a look at the size of this tree. We spoke with the man whose car was crushed.
Yeah, a lot of people still cleaning up this morning after those storms yesterday. We'll get to Monica in just a bit. But thanks for joining us on your Thursday. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
And I'm Jeff Hogan. Thanks for making us part of your Thursday here. 8:30 is the time. Yeah, we had some rivers running through some yards yesterday for a brief bit of time. It was strong stuff. Now, as we clear out, Elizabeth Gardner and the WRAL Severe Weather Center, these temperatures start to drop. This is interesting.
Yeah, we're really going to feel it behind this front. This time of year, you know, we can still see some nice drops in our temperature. You can go either way, which is obvious, you know, 80s ahead of the front and then some 30s for lows behind it. A look at North Hills right now. You look along the horizon there and you can see clear skies, but we do have some cloud cover that's going to be rotating around a low that's sitting to our north. And I'll show you that in just a little bit. Right now it's 48 in the Triangle. We still have winds coming out of the southwest, but that's going to switch today and start to bring in some winds out of the northwest, pushing in some cooler air. We're looking at steady winds 10 to 15 in Clinton and Fayetteville, 10 in Goldsboro. No gusts yet. Gusts will show up there on the right side. I figured we would have some by now. We do have gusts in the forecast starting at lunchtime around 25 miles per hour, up to 30 through the afternoon. We check out our temperatures. It's 43 in Roxborough, 46 in Rocky Mount, 48 in Southern Pines, and 50 in Clinton and Fayetteville. So we do have the potential for this low pressure system to push some more clouds in today, and a sprinkle or two up near the Virginia line. We're not going to see much rain. The bulk of us won't see any of it. Some of it may evaporate before it reaches the ground, and if you see any of it, it's likely not to be enough to measure in the rain gauges. Definitely a cooler afternoon, from 80s 48 hours ago to just 60s for today. That continues into the weekend. I'll show you when we warm back up a bit. Coming up, Brian.
It is 8:32 right now. We do have a crash on the southwest side of Raleigh, Tryon Road at Yates Mill Pond Road. Apparently a crash with injuries, pretty serious incident out there. Seeing some delays building on the westbound side of Tryon Road from right around Dillard Drive out toward that Yates Mill Pond Road intersection. Also northbound traffic on Yates Mill Pond is pretty badly backed up approaching Tryon Road. Working to get some more details about exactly what's going on out there. Apparently 2 vehicles involved, according to eyewitness accounts. On the north side of Raleigh, a minor crash getting cleared right now from Six Forks Road at Millbrook Road. Seeing some delays, especially on that eastbound side of Millbrook Road approaching that intersection. You're going to run into the usual delays on 440 westbound heading through Capitol Boulevard, and also the backups on the south side of Raleigh on 40 westbound between South Saunders and Lake Wheeler Road. By the time you get out to Gorman Street, it starts to clear up. Your major approaches into Raleigh are looking okay this morning. 7-minute delay coming in from Wake Forest on southbound Capitol Boulevard. Not that bad for this point in the morning commute. And in Durham, some backups on the northbound side of 885, but otherwise we're looking good on I-40 and I-85.
Right now, crime scene tape is up outside a busy Target location in Holly Springs. The police chief there tells us officers shot a person there early this morning. Nick Perlin is there in the WRAL breaking news tracker right now. Nick, we know 2 officers fired shots here.
Jeff, 2 officers fired shots and 1 person is in the hospital because of that. I do want to step out of the way and show you the scene. Officers here have been investigating that shooting for about 5.5 hours. We've seen forensics here on scene snapping pictures of the crime scene, which is still very active. But to get to what Jeff just said about those 2 officers, I do want to show you this video from the WRAL breaking news tracker. This is what this looked like at around 4 a.m. when we showed up. We do know that this shooting happened just before 4 a.m. when employees inside the Target in Holly Springs say they saw someone acting suspiciously. When Holly Springs police showed up, they saw that person, and that person showed a gun. That's when we have confirmation from the chief of police that those 2 police officers fired their guns at that person. The person was shot and taken to the hospital with injuries. No officers were injured at this time, and it's still unknown if that person shot at police. We do know the SBI is conducting an investigation into this shooting, and we do know those 2 officers are on administrative leave. We can also say that this Target is still functioning this morning despite this very active scene. We can expect to see officers continue their investigation all the way continue. We can see that continuing this morning. So that's the latest out here. Reporting live in Holly Springs, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
And more breaking news. An 18-year-old is dead after being hit by multiple cars along I-540 East. The WRAL breaking news tracker was on scene near Leesville Road just before midnight. Highway Patrol tells us the car crashed into the tree line along the I-540 ramp. At some point after that crash, the 18-year-old walked into the middle of the highway. He was clipped by a black pickup truck and hit again by a tractor trailer. It's not known if his car was damaged in the original accident on the ramp.
There's some cleanup to do for some folks across the Triangle after yesterday's storms brought down some trees. WRAL's Monica Casey spoke with a man who's trying to figure out how to get a tree off his car.
The damage from last night's storms is extensive. Just take a look at the size of this tree crushing the front of this car. It's going to be costly for this car owner in this Northwest Raleigh neighborhood. We spoke with that man, Christopher Fumifredo, who tells us before heading into work, he likes to decompress in his car. He's lucky he didn't because this happened just as the rain was dying down last night. He is frustrated about this tree.
Why is it even over here? Like, why was it left in that condition in the first place? And what are y'all going to do about my car now?
Power was also out for a few hours in some places last night, including this area in White Oak in Garner. The Duke Energy outage map doesn't show any lingering outages related to last night's storm. There are no reports of injuries associated with that storm either. In Raleigh, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
The big day for the NC State Wolfpack and their fans is almost here. The men's team arrived in Arizona last night ahead of the Final Four game against Purdue on Saturday. And WRAL's Pat Welter and Casey Hintz are there as the Pack players are preparing for the biggest game of their lives.
They've reached the last stop. NC State rolling into their final destination, Phoenix.
It feels great. These guys really deserve it, and we're so happy. We're happy with this current team.
As Casey Morsell put it, there's nothing better than bringing a piece of Raleigh to Phoenix.
So Raleigh needed this, and it's a great feeling,
They signed autographs. They took selfies.
We set out to go to D.C. We wanted to have fun. Same thing in Dallas and so far. And, our guys now are learning how to separate, having fun. And then when we need to get down to business, we'll get down to business.
Kevin Keats has been on this stage before as an assistant, but there's nothing quite like leading your own team.
I'm excited. Like, this never gets old. It actually raises the level. And I'm so proud of our guys.
Pride is a feeling I think a lot of Wolfpack fans are experiencing right now, Casey. I mean, a lot of them haven't experienced anything like this in their entire lifetime. But just like 1983, it's even better when it's unexpected.
Absolutely. Well, now that the fanfare of the arrival is over, it's time to get down to business on why this team is here today. The Pack will be holding a closed practice a little bit later this morning. We'll get a chance to talk to the guys and hear how they're preparing for that Final Four matchup against Purdue. For Pat Welter, I'm Casey Hintz, WRAL Sports, Phoenix.
NC State women are one day away from taking the Final Four stage against top-seeded South Carolina. Today, Wolfpack will be on the practice court getting ready for that huge game. The team is in Cleveland, where the spotlight on women's basketball is shining brighter than ever. Head coach Wes Moore says the team is ready for this big matchup.
Playing a great team, big challenge. But hey, there's about 356 teams that would give anything to trade places with us. So. We're excited about the opportunity.
And WRAL's Brett Neese is in Cleveland with the Wolfpack women. He will have coverage leading up to the big game with South Carolina tomorrow night.
And ahead of these historic games, join us tonight at 7 for Wolfpack Pride. Why not us? We'll have live reports, in-depth analysis, and how this moment has the Triangle rallying around the Pack.
Pinehurst number 10 is officially open, making Pinehurst Resort the only resort outside of China to have 10 18-hole layouts. Pinehurst number 2 is, of course, the most famous, with the U.S. Open coming there in June. Can't wait for that. But number 10, they teed it up yesterday, the first original golf course added in almost 40 years there. It opens a new section of the resort known as Pinehurst Sand Mines, spanning more than 900 acres. It's located 4 miles south of the main clubhouse.
Today, the search for Durham Public Schools' new superintendent takes another step forward. The Board of Education is holding a special meeting this afternoon. They'll discuss and take potential action on the contract for superintendent for the search. Right now, former Wake Schools Superintendent Caddy Moore is serving as superintendent in an interim role. Today's meeting gets started at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Powerball jackpot climbs once again. The top prize Saturday night will be nearly $1.25 billion. This is the 40th drawing in a row without a grand prize jackpot winner. You'll want to check your numbers out to see if you won a smaller prize than last night's drawing. 11, 38, 41, 62, 65. Powerball is 15. The power play is 3. You can watch Saturday night's drawing on WRAL right before our 11 o'clock news.
What happens when you add Caitlin Clark to the Final Four? Pretty good things. Coming up, we'll explain what's behind the women's Final Four tickets selling for double the men's.
Also, 2 stars of the hit show Suits are reuniting. The new project they're working on is giving fans behind-the-scenes look at the making of that show.
844. Look at this big deck of clouds that's starting to move across Wilson. Just to the north, we have a low pressure system that is helping to push a little bit more moisture in. Yet all the storms moved out along with the cold front yesterday. So this is a different setup that we'll talk about coming up. A little breezy here as we take a live look at the Whirligig Park. This afternoon, it's likely to be gusty with winds up to 25, 30 miles per hour. So whirligigs are going to really start getting a workout later on. Right now, it's a cool morning. Temperatures are mainly in the mid to upper 40s. Our dew point's down at 37, which is much lower than yesterday. So two nice things about that front that moved through. It's not as humid and it's not as pollen-y out there either. But it's also going to be significantly cooler. Our highs this afternoon will only be in the low 60s. So we're kind of out of shorts and t-shirts weather at this point for at least through the weekend. Goldsboro and Clinton gusting 17 to 18 miles per hour right now. The gusts are in the white box on the right and the steady winds are on the left. So steady winds at about 5 to 15 and then gusting up to 15 to 20 right now. We'll be gusting 25 to 30 for much of the afternoon, and then we'll see those numbers dropping down a little bit during the evening. Up around the Great Lakes, we have some cloud cover that's spinning around, helping to push that down into at least the central and northern parts of North Carolina for today. The farther south you are, the more sunshine that you're going to see. The farther north you are, the better chance that you could see a sprinkle, especially from, say, Durham and Rocky Mount northward. This is a look at the latest run of the computer models. A couple little patches of green show up. The bulk of that's going to either evaporate or just not be enough to even measure in the rain gauges. So I wouldn't be too concerned about rain today, but there could be a quick sprinkle this afternoon. 62 in Raleigh, 61 in Durham, 65 in Fayetteville. So, yep, a cool day, cooler than normal. Our normal high temperature is in the upper 60s. So we do have the blue color contours signifying cooler than normal temperatures across a good chunk of the country behind that front. But next week, we get into some warmer temperatures. We're back into the 70s for highs Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Some cold mornings ahead. 37 Saturday morning, 38 on Sunday morning. That's not going to be a record. The records are in the upper 20s this time of year. And even with that 37 and 38 out in rural areas, we could see some patchy frost sometimes at those temperatures, but probably not this week. We're going to continue to see some breezy conditions, which tends to circulate the atmosphere enough that frost doesn't normally form. It's going to be cool for Dreamville, but we will see plenty of sunshine. Highs will be in the low to mid 60s.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. The judge presiding over Donald Trump's hush money case has rejected his bid to use presidential immunity as part of his defense. Judge Juan Merchan ruled that the former president waited too long to raise the claim of presidential immunity in order to block certain evidence from being allowed at his trial. Judge Merchan also denied Trump's motion to delay the trial start date. Jury selection in the trial gets underway April 15th.
A district court judge who's facing a DWI charge is due in a Harnett County courtroom today. Jason Kimball was arrested in September after a crash in Lillington. Police say a breath test came back with a blood alcohol level of 0.23, almost 3 times the legal limit. Arrest warrants also show a child under the age of 16 was inside the car at the time.
Do you hate those super bright headlights on the road that blind you at night? 5 on Your Side's Keely Arthur looks at the fix that's just out of reach.
LED headlights are much brighter than the halogen lights of a decade ago, and we bought this tester to highlight the difference. We tested this older light bulb and it read 876 lux. And then we tested this much brighter headlight and it showed the reading at 1,126. There is a way to keep that really intense light from blinding you while you're driving. They're called adaptive driving beam headlights.
It's more like a one of those IMAX projectors where it can actually project light anywhere you want to in front of you and to your side. So actually computer controlled, it can recognize there's a deer or a person or a motorcycle or a bicycle on the side and either light that up or there's a car coming and not light it at all. So.
Tonight at 6, 5 on Your Side is going to explain why this potentially life-saving technology is being used in other countries, but not here.
Your next trip to the DMV could cost you more. Several locations in North Carolina are raising their fees this summer. The DMV is required to change fees and rates every 4 years. The adjustments, though, are based on the Consumer Price Index over the next 4 years. According to the DMV, about 90 license and registration-related fees are expected to go up by almost 20%. The price hikes begin July 1st. You can find a list of the price changes at ncdot.gov.
And happening now in the WRAL Live Center, jobless claims for last week just came in just a little while ago. The U.S. Labor Department reporting 221,000 people filed for jobless claims in last week. That's 9,000 more than the previous week, but layoffs remained relatively slow. This gives us a chance to check the big board this morning. You can see stock futures responding well so far. The Dow futures on the plus side by more than 190 points. S&P, NASDAQ futures also on the plus side. Of course, we'll have the opening numbers in our next hour of news right here on Fox 50.
Take a look at this tribute to DJ Burns on NC State's campus. It's now finished, and it's a mural in the Free Expression Tunnel. It was done by Sean O'Rourke of Philadelphia and well known across the nation for his art. And not the first piece of artwork on State's campus. He is the man behind the artwork outside the Tally Student Union from 2022.
LSU basketball star Angel Reese is leaving school for the WNBA. Reese posted the announcement on social media on Wednesday. She also went into detail about her decision in a story in Vogue magazine, saying she has accomplished everything she wanted to in college sports, and her ultimate goal is to be a pro. The WNBA draft is April 15th, and Reese is projected to be a top 10 pick.
Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes fans are one reason that the Final Four ticket prices have been surging. This wave of enthusiasm for Clark and her team after they beat LSU pushed the average ticket price for the women's Final Four to $2,300 the past couple days. Now, for the men's Final Four, that number is about $1,000. So the price difference also has to do with the size of the arena. The women's games will be held in that arena in Cleveland with 19,500 seats. The men's game, that's in a domed stadium that seats more than 70,000. Starting price for the women's Final Four to both semifinals, the championship, plus service fees and all, just over $900. The most expensive ticket for Friday's games, more than $11,000.
The Matrix franchise expands, Suits, co-stars unite, and more. Ashley Dvorkin has all of the latest from the Hollywood Nation.
Allow me to welcome you to the Dead Boy Detective Agency.
Ghostly detectives investigate, Suits stars reunite, and the Matrix saga continues in the Hollywood Nation.
It's so easy to forget how much noise the Matrix pumps into your head.
The Matrix film series is expanding. A fifth movie is in the works at Warner Brothers, with Drew Goddard on board to write and direct the next installment. Franchise co-creator Lana Wachowski, who helmed Resurrections, is on board to executive produce. No word on if any key cast members, such as Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss, will be returning.
Skip the introductions and jump right to the suing.
Suits co-stars Patrick J. Adams and Sarah Rafferty are re-teaming for a new project. According to Deadline, the series stars will co-host a SiriusXM Rewatch podcast, where they will discuss episodes, offer behind-the-scenes stories, and details about the making of the hit USA Network show.
Lock me up in the
Artists releasing new music. Grammy-winning rock band Imagine Dragons dropped their single Eyes Closed along with the music video. The group plans to release more tunes this year. And John Oates, co-creator of the iconic pop rock duo Hall & Oates, announced his new solo album Reunion will be out May 17th and also release the title track. Today's First Looks features George Rextrew and Jaden Reverie fighting off supernatural spirits. The duo star in the screen adaptation of Dead Boy Detectives, about two best friends who are ghosts working together along with their crew to help solve paranormal cases in the mortal realm. The 8-episode show premieres on Netflix April 25th. Did you guys know zombies are real?
That was Ashley Dvorkin reporting.
This is real. A golfer in Florida says he was just enjoying his day on the course, and he spotted something that looked straight out of Jurassic Park, and this is what he saw. Ooh, approach with caution. A 10-foot-long gator playing through his fairway. Just marching across there. It happened in West Florida, right along the Gulf Coast. And the video has gone viral all over social media. The man says there's just something about seeing gators out there that big out and about. We're back in just a moment.